Welcome to Kumo Talk Season 2, Episode 6. On the topic today is how to find your art style. Because a lot of the times people have asked me, so where did you find your art style, or how did you develop your style of work into what it is right now? And I thought, why not just put it into a Kumo Talks where I can invite other people to come and speak with us and share their experiences and their story. And so today we have Black Paris. So on the Black Paris account, we have Steffi. We have our wonderful Nelf, who is mod in RCC and also Invisible Friends, and FOMO Boys, who is part of Black Paris's team. So welcome all of you guys, and thank you for being part of this episode. We are delighted to have you here. We, as in I, am delighted to have you here. I am a plural. Um, so yeah, I guess then we can start by just a general introduction of yourselves, if you wish. We can start with Z, and then we can go to Black Paris after that.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Z. I am one of the admins at RCC, and we launched Invisible Friends, I think most recently. And I'm not much of an artist, so I don't exactly have a style. I'm just here to vibe with Kumo. And I guess to a certain extent contribute how RCC as a whole started more with a focus on a specific art style, being animation, and build it out from there. So that's, I guess, the angle I'll come in from today. But yeah, no, it's great to be here again.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you. And Steffi and FOMO Boys?
Hi, yeah, sure. So my name is Steffi. I joined like about 2 years ago. I'm the head of growth. So I'm in charge of collaborations, partnerships, and distributions globally. I think like for those who are familiar with Black, you will know that we have a very specific style. It's all Black everything, minimalistic, luxury, and high quality. But we'll come to this when we describe our style and how we came about.
Sure. And hello guys, I'm from Boys, but I'm Thomas in real life, I would say. So I'm the founder of Infinity Labs, which is a Web3 consulting agency, and we've worked with Steffi and Julian to build Black from the scratch. And I'm now kind of, I don't know if I have a particular title, but I'm in charge of the Web3 part of Black with Steffi.
Awesome. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank
And
you.
we have here Arlo. Arlo is here. Welcome,
Howdy,
Arlo. Would you like to
howdy.
give yourself
How you
a brief
doing?
introduction?
Yeah, I'm Arlo. I'm a full-time artist in mostly in Web3. I've been in the Web3 space for about a year and a half. And I started just by diving in and making a few different collections, which I think I sold one of for $12. And then after spending so much time sort of making all this art and sort of realizing that there was a lot more to the space, I decided to dive in fully, I guess. And then eventually I come from an art background, so I've been drawing all my life, and I went to art university for about 6 years. And yeah, so that's led me to here, and I'm really enjoying it because I feel like Web3 has really revived everyone's appreciation for art, because it was getting to the point where, like, digital artists who weren't on Web3 and even traditional artists are kind of really struggling to, they're not struggling to make the art and practice, but they're struggling to find an audience, or customers, or people who appreciate and want to support them for their art. So that's one of the main reasons that Web3 blew me away, because so many people are it's I don't know, it's just crazy to see everyone actually enjoying it. But yeah, you're going to have to interrupt me because I will blabber on for hours.
Yo,
That
I
is
see you
no
are
problem.
you are the artist of the Possessed, right?
No, I'm not the artist of Possess. That's a very, very talented man called Joe. I'm just a Possessed
Okay.
hazmat, so I'm like a community manager or a community mod in
Nice.
some way.
Oh, right, I see. Nice,
And I
nice.
just want to say, like, Arlo is like a cult hero in the Invisible Friends community. You see, you scroll through his art, like the like his own style. I think it's perfect to be a speaker today
Oh,
because
bro, thank you.
I love it.
I'm blushing. But no, I cannot get enough of Invisible Friends. They're all so fun. Marcus he's a genius. I compare his work a lot to the likes of like Walt Disney and that. Marcus is really, really, really something special.
Yeah, I agree. The first time I saw the Invisible Friends, I was just blown away by how in I would just say the art is just very lovable. It's like a very lovable art style that you could
Absolutely.
just yeah, exactly. So thank you for the introduction, everyone. And I guess we can just get cracking on like the first main question is like how does one develop to finding or to develop their art to finding their art style? So I guess I could start.
Go ahead.
um so I guess like with Kumo's world, we have this kind of like chibi version, and I've always liked chibi art style, but I no joke, I was so bad at drawing characters. Like I just did not know how to draw characters, and if you saw any of my posts from like last few years ago, you probably just laugh and be like, what, where did this come from? So it was like since starting the NFT space, then I was doodling a lot, and I think when you're drawing a lot, like Arlo, you said you've been drawing for many years now, and so I think when you do a lot of art and you keep consistent and you keep going at it, you will eventually develop a way that you find most comfortable drawing. And then from there, that's where you then start to develop your own style because that's what makes you feel comfortable drawing. And so I think I like to ask Black Paris and Arlo, like, how did you guys go about, you know, finding, or do you have any tips for finding your own art style? So I'll guess Black Paris can start first. Steffi?
Yeah, I think I'll be
Trouble?
speaking on behalf of Julian, the founder and designer of the brand, because I'm not the artist. I'm more behind the scenes and logistics, but I know everything about it. um, I guess like when Julian started, he started. He's a designer, like that's his background, but he didn't really come up with the concept black before. Like actually, like if you look at his Instagram, you will see that his style is very monochrome. So he only wears. He's obsessed with the color black. He's obsessed with like a minimalistic lifestyle, and um, and he was just for fun designing like very famous household brands like M&M's or like the Coke in black. So in a so he would like transform the packaging all black, and it kind of went viral online. He was reshared on Vogue, JQ, Hypebeast, and that's when he kind of came up with the concept of creating a brand that is all black everything brand, minimalistic, focused on quality and design, and and really started on social media. So on Instagram, he got the handle Black, and the name is actually Black with the A upside down. So that's why it's written with a V. And so that's when the concept of the brand started, and he further developed into very, I guess, like a dark artistic trait. So we play a lot with like snake, rose, but also like French poetry. And if you look at our collection, like our NFT collection, it really is a reminder of the brand. So you will see like, for example, our first drop was on Maker's Place, so it was with this moody, dark music, a bit like Billie Eilish vibes, and you will have like those moving snakes or rows or skulls, and it's like a whole like I guess a black mood universe that he created, and that he further developed into the Genesis drop. I don't know if I'm missing something, Thomas. What do you think?
No, I agree. I agree. As for the Avatar collection, like the Black Genesis collection, I feel like it's pretty dark, neutral, but at the same time it's stylish and kind of classy. So I feel it's pretty much representing black as a vision, as an aesthetic, you know. It's really, even if you look at the different kind of skins that we have, it's like the darker the rarer. So I feel it's really the whole black universe that he tried to showcase in his avatar collection, you know.
We also had like, I just want to add to this, we also had like the act, like we did some teasing videos. So every time there was something big coming up in the collection, we had like act 1, act 2, and act 3 videos to show what to further develop the storyline and the storytelling. So if you look at it on YouTube under Black Paris, you will see that there's actually a lot more to the kind of the story that is further developing, and it's all in Julian's mind, and it's all a bit like it's all going well together. So it's something I would recommend to see, just to get into an idea of what's behind the Black Paris universe and the Genesis collection.
That's so interesting. It's just like the fact that it just came out from his love for the color black.
Yeah. No, it's great that you can actually build a brand out of an obsession of a color.
Yeah.
But I guess for him, he was really finding his audience and community before building the brand. So it really started off social media before going into being like a global brand and having stores like worldwide. It really started as a niche, like finding your customers, finding your identity. The branding is very strong, and yeah, that's where kind of the brand started.
That's really cool. I'll have to talk to you sometime about that. Finding your community. I should have just picked one color for Kumo's World. Focused on that.
There's speaking of motion, Marcus, he's just sort of like adopted this color green that you're seeing everywhere on the Invisible Friends. So it's another good example of how a singular color and sort of adopting a concept around that can be quite effective.
Yeah, like
exactly.
I think
because you see the
like
color
garbage
after
can.
it, and it reminds you of the brand. So it's also very important, I think, for like branding. When for example, when you see the Tiffany blue, you will always like think of Tiffany. So I think yeah, like now that you say the green, I see it on the space with everyone with the PFP.
Absolutely, yeah. You join any Invisible Friends space and it's just the color green everywhere.
So Arlo, now that you're speaking, I guess we can jump and ask yourself how you've developed your own particular style. I notice it's very it's got a lot of what would you call it? Like, would you call it dodge? Is that the color that you like, color dodge that you use? Or it's got a lot of like bright kind of glowing lights in there.
Oh yeah. I never really knew what to call it, but a lot of people like say they love the neon on my pieces, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess it's neon to be fair. But I really developed my own style kind of by chance and consistency. So I would always come back and always be making new pieces. And one thing that I think really helped me to chance upon developing my own style that I really enjoyed was not being afraid to try things out. So I would never get, I'd allocate myself 3, 4, 5 hours and tell myself, you're not going to make anything cool in these 4 or 5 hours. You're going to learn all the tools on Photoshop, or you're going to learn a specific tool inside out and how to use it, or like, a specific brush or a specific art, whatever a tool. So I did this for years, and obviously I made some really cool pieces throughout the years. And this started when I was about halfway through my art university. So I just started experimenting basically. And then eventually, after I joined Web3, I kept doing that for ages. So I just, day after day, allocate myself more time. And even if I didn't make something, interesting or anything to show by the end of that 4 or 5 hours each day, I would like sort of be comfortable in the fact that I'd learned something new about the software that I'm using, or about about drawing essentially, or illustrating rather. But yeah, eventually I started off with just like honing in on my line work skills, and it began there. So like all of the line work that you see on my pieces is like very similar, and you can see there's a lot of like I call them texture lines. They're like extra lines added in to sort of build upon depth or build upon a surface or make a certain like material or something like that. Um, but I didn't add all of the shines in or like all of the glowing parts or anything like that until later. So it was kind of like an iterative process. I had line work that I really liked, and then I kept sort of repeating what I'd been doing. So I had my line work down, and then I thought, how can I enhance this more? So I set myself more days to just test things and try things. Um, and then I found a color system that I really liked. And then after that, I found a shading system that I really liked, or like, a method of doing so. I've got a few time lapses on my Twitter feed that kind of showcase what I'm talking about, because as I say, I blabber a lot, so it can be a bit confusing. But yeah, so it was, as I say, it was kind of like, I think basically in a nutshell, the way I found my style is not being afraid to fail and try things and not get it right the first time. Because a lot of people, when they start art, they make one piece of art, they don't think it's very good, and then they think, oh, I can't draw, oh, I can't do this kind of art, oh, I won't even try, there's no point. Um, but that was the thing that helped me, and like just coming back day after day, trying new things, it was kind of like I was bound to find something I liked after a while. But yeah, that I guess the only issue with that is it was by chance. So it might take longer for some, it might take shorter for some. Um, but yeah.
No, I totally agree with you on that. I think finding your own art style is always by chance, because
Absolutely.
you don't know. Like, that's why it's called finding your art style. It's not like I'm gonna find this particular art style, because then that's not really finding your
Yeah,
own
yeah,
art
you'd
style.
already know what it is.
Yeah. I
If
just
you knew
found
if you
their
knew what
art
to look
style.
for, then yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, I guess in that way, like I guess it's all by chance. But then the main point I'd say, if it is all by chance, is don't be afraid to try things, because that's what I loved, is just finding, even if I didn't have a cool art piece to show at the end, maybe I learned the gradient tool or something on Photoshop, and that, like, for instance, when I did learn how to use the gradient tool, it's just a simple color gradient, that blew it, like, that really kind of uh, was a catalyst for my art and really sort of like enabled it to shine and enabled loads of the glowing effects on my art. So yeah, it's like I can't remember that there's a quote. It's something about it's something to do with coding. It's like well, I guess it applies to a lot of different professions, but once you know the sort of basics of how something works, moving to a different medium isn't hard. You just have to learn like the tools again. So, if you can draw, or if you are willing to learn, to put in the hours to teach yourself to draw, once you've learned it, moving to digital art, or, moving medium, or like moving software, so moving from Photoshop to Procreate or something, it's all just learning the tools again. So that's why I don't know. I think it's really important to know how to use the tools that you've got at your disposal, because it enables you to, like, if you don't want, or if you don't feel like you want to learn those kind of things, then you're limiting the amount of art that you can produce, because the more tools that you know, and the more mediums of art, like the more methods, whether it's traditional or digital, then, especially if you are trying to find your own style, um, that will help you a lot more, because you'll be able to do a lot more, essentially. Um, but yeah, so experimenting and not being afraid to try. I'll shut up now.
No, but I think that's really interesting because obviously I think finding your style happens very organically. But yet again,
Yeah.
like, I think once you find it, that's not the end, right? Because it's gonna change, it's gonna develop. So I'm always curious, and even within like RCC, I've spoken to the artists about this, but how do external influences, challenge your style, right? Because I think some people incorporate it better than others. Some people tend to stick in, like, in their own lane. But change isn't always bad, like you said, right? So I'm just curious, as
Absolutely.
artists, Kumo, Arlo, and and anyone here actually, if anyone wants to come on and speak to, how does change actually influence, your style when, either you draw or animate, anything like that.
Yeah, I guess I can try this one out. Oof, getting asked a question. Way. Um, so external influences my art style. So actually, I'm not entirely sure how to answer this. Um, I guess it's like it depends on what the external influences are, right? So if it's like maybe sorry, maybe I'll let Arlo or Black answer this one first.
That's all right. Um, it's a tricky question for me because I personally found that the more I viewed or the more I looked at other people's art, uh, like when I was younger and before I had discovered or developed my own style, um, the the more I was influenced by them and the less sort of me my art was because whether it was conscious or subconscious, I was trying to add in elements of the art that I enjoyed. So it is a difficult question to ask for some artists. Some artists you'll ask them and they'll say, very clearly, and they'll be able to sort of describe very distinctly where their style originated from and who their influences were. But for some people, it's more of like an attraction to a certain medium, I guess. Like I think my style developed from when I was a kid. I always used to draw in just sketches, so in just pencil, because I always thought that color, at least on traditional art, unless you're a little bit more skilled than maybe a 7-year-old child, which I was at the time. You're not like coloring often ruins the line work because you're not very used to coloring in the lines or not going over your line work, and it can get a bit messy. So I always used to sketch, so there was never any color, and this kind of allowed me to develop a love for just simple black line work. And that's where I started with my style. So I guess for some people it's less. I guess that correct me if I'm wrong, but that might be the case for Black Paris as well, because it might have been less of a person influence and more of his love for the color black, or love for a concept, rather than a person. But I think I'm personally definitely like loving and appreciative and sort of in awe of so many artists around the world. But yeah, I guess like the more I kind of incorporate into my art, the less me my art becomes. But that's not really a bad thing because, as you say, like I'm definitely interested in stepping out of my lane soon and trying out some new art styles because I know, and even though I'm constantly evolving this art style and perfecting it and adding like tweaks and well, as I say, evolving it, I know I can do this art style now, and I think I'd like to challenge myself to do like different or more art styles. And one thing that is next on my radar is getting my pictures to move. I want to learn to animate, so that's going to be really cool. But yeah.
That is so true. I agree with you on everything, Arlo. And I'm sorry, I kind of just blacked out when I was like, I'll
That's all
speak.
right. That's all right.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what you said is true, where you incorporate artists or features of other people's art that you like into your work. But I don't think that makes it any less of it your style, because you
Yeah,
would do
that's
it
true.
in your own way. So it's almost like you're adding to your own style. So you're evolving yourself in that sense where if for example, I see like I when I see something that I like from a different artist, like maybe instead of using black lines, they use like brown, or like the type of pencil that they're using is different. And I try and do it in not in their style, but kind of like added that kind of element into my art. It might not
Yeah,
always work, but in that sense, it's like experimenting, right? You're saying you're experimenting, and
of
then
course.
through just kind of practicing and incorporating it, it might not be exactly how they had done it, but you would have done it in a way that fits yours, and also that that it works better for yours as opposed to exactly how they've done it.
Definitely. That's why I'd say it's very good for like people who have found their style to take notes from others. But for people who haven't yet found their own style, I think it's definitely more important to focus on what sort of your brain likes, and what values and what sort of interests and concepts you like in your life. Because a lot of people who are trying to find their own art style will find an artist they really like, and then base a lot of their work or their experimenting off the artist they like. And that kind of in a way impedes. For some people, it can really motivate them, and then eventually they will branch off and find their own. But I think because a lot of art styles have already been found in certain ways today, I think it's really important to experiment and not be afraid of experimenting. Because, like, I guess, like, not total experimentation, I guess, like, as Kumo X is saying, like, it's important to, I guess, like, sort of know where your interests are coming from, and know where like ideas and appreciations are coming from, because you cannot incorporate them into your art. But it's a really weird and big question to ask, like, where did your art style come from, or to tell someone how to find their own art style. But it's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, for sure. In that sense, I think experimenting is definitely the way to go, and not
Yeah.
picking one particular I mean, it is good, and there's like pros and cons to everything, right? So if you pick one particular style that you want to focus on, and then you
Yeah.
do that really well, then you can branch out to other things. Or you can do a lot of different things, like different mediums, and find which one you feel most comfortable doing.
Yeah,
I think the
absolutely.
most important thing is to enjoy what you're doing, and to like if you doing this particular style makes you happy and that you enjoy doing it, then yes, keep going for it. But if
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
feel frustrated and you just don't enjoy the process, then maybe change to a different style, change to different medium, and find what works for you, as opposed to I want to be like this artist, and even though maybe that particular artist's art is really really good, but it's just not where your strength lies. Yes, you can
Absolutely.
always
I couldn't have
practice.
said that better myself. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I don't know why I fumbled so much, but no, you hit the nail on the head there. Brilliant.
Oh, I see Z is unmuted. Go for it, talk Z. We're waiting for you.
Oh no, just as one of like the non-artists here, so I prepared a couple of like loaded questions, right? So
Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
I'm just gonna let it rip. Now I think obviously external influences will always tend to affect all of us, not just in art, but in a lot of things, right? So like you guys say, being flexible, trying new things, and being willing to take risks is really how you develop yourself and inadvertently your art style as well. And I guess now then, when it comes to being influenced by people or learning from other people, what is your personal line that you do not cross, right? Because there is imitation, and then there's straight up copying, and then there's being inspired by a style of art. So, curious to hear from you guys as artists, because I'm sure some people have tried to copy your work before, some people have been inspired by your work. And what is your view on that whole inspired by versus imitated kind of situation?
I've never actually managed to see someone successfully like copy one of mine, and that's because mine is very technical, in the sense that there's a lot of different layers which have to be in a lot of this, well, in very specific orders in order to achieve the art style. But I've seen a couple people who have taken ideas from mine, and I really love it. I think, although I have had people in the past who have released like, you get fake collections on OpenSea. They've downloaded all of my pictures off like DeviantArt or Pinterest and then released them as a collection. And obviously I reported the collection and it got taken down, but it didn't really bug me too much. But on the other end of the stick, I have to be very careful because a lot of my art, and in fact most of it, is derivatives. Because a lot of my commission work is people asking me to make versions of their NFTs or of a certain character or a certain concept that they like. And I just make it a point with myself to always try and alter it and edit it in some way that makes it not just straight up putting the picture on my screen and tracing over it, not only because it's an insult to the original artist, it depends on the artist, but as if I were to copy another artist's art, I would feel like I was insulting them, regardless of whether they care or not. So that's a me thing. Like, that's something that I care about. I don't mind if they do or don't. But it's regardless of that. It's also just because it's boring to, for me to like just not make a derivative different in some way. So a really good example is I think Rizzle's in here. You can see him in the bottom. That's his Illogic NFT that he's got on his PFP, but that's my derivative of it. And the Illogic's art is really, really cool art. But I didn't even know what it was, so I just kind of assumed it was fur, even though it's not. I don't know if it is fur in the original NFT, but I kind of just went with it. So I don't know. There's a lot of the Invisible Friends ones that I've done. I always kind of like change perspectives or add little extra traits onto them, and yeah, it's just about like appreciating where the styles come from, or for me it's where the design has come from, because obviously I have my own style. So when I'm making a derivative, it's more about looking at the actual character design. And as I say, with Invisible Friends, it's impeccable. Like the amount of character that each invisible friend has, just by the objects it's holding or the glasses it's got on, you can really get a vibe just off, straight off those things. And it's I can't remember. It's similar to I did this class when I was in games design school. It was showing like different shapes in cartoons that promote different emotions or promote different feelings. So characters with a lot of like triangular shapes on them, such as the Joker from Batman. His nose is very pointy, his smile is very pointy. They promote like evil connotations, and then square shapes promote like dependable, durable connotations. So you'll notice how Superman's chest is like very square, his legs are very square, his chin's very square in the original designs. And these all connotate different things. So that's what I pay attention to when I'm making a derivative of someone else's art. Is paying attention to the actual design they've put in and then trying to recreate that in my own way. So I look at, say, when I did Mom's Life's derivative of her invisible friend, I kind of viewed it all as like the shapes in her invisible friend in particular. So the bubblegum trait and the baseball bat trait, they're all very round, and it kind of connotates like a wholesome or approachable or kind of like soft feeling in a way. And I tried to recreate that with the colors and the lack of aggressiveness in the psychedelic background behind it, because all of my pieces have them, but certain ones are softer and certain ones are like harsher and more trippy. But I try and think of all these things when I'm creating, as to not just make it 4 hours of me drawing over someone else's lines. As I say, not only because it bothers me to do, to copy someone else's work, but it's just a bit boring compared to trying to make it my own a bit. And I will shut up now.
I was just about to say, I'm going to pause you for a second and say,
Absolutely.
for those of you guys who are listening, we do have a POAP for you all, as with every other week that we do Kumo Talks. So I will drop you guys the secret code if you have the POAP application on your phone. You can go check out the secret code, and the word is unbound imagination. So all smaller cases and no spaces. So all one word. So unbound imagination. UNBOUNDIMAGINATION. So go and collect your POAP before it closes. So yeah, that's just to thank you all for being here. And yeah, sorry. Now we can continue on. But
Congrats
yes,
on winning the spelling bee, Kumo.
the way.
The spelling bee.
Thank you. Gold star for me. Gold star for me.
But speaking of unbound imagination, actually, I am quite curious as to like, and this is more for the Black Paris team, because you guys mentioned that a lot of inspiration for the collection was born out of just the love of the color black, but at the same time, how much I would say influence did fashion and everything all have when you guys decided to go with the avatars and sort of the traits that they all have had, because like the style in which you guys play the color black in the backgrounds with the individual characters as well is pretty unique. So definitely want to sort of dig into what went on behind the scenes with regards to that.
Sure. I think I'm also going to speak on behalf of Julian because he's really the artist. I'm not, but he's very inspired by a few things: fashion, music. Music plays a very important role in every. If you look at all our videos on social media, the music is always chosen very carefully. So music is definitely something that impacts the work, but also like he always wants to learn new skills. So as you and Arlo said, that's something very important for him. So he learned 3D in a few months, I think, like 2 years ago. He got obsessed with 3D, started like didn't sleep, like only learned for days and days, and then that's how he came up with the dark mode series on Maker's Place, and that was just him learning 3D, a new skill, and now he's obsessed with AR and learning how to make a game. So when he gets into something, he kind of watch all the tutorials, starts practicing, really get into it, and only does that. That's kind of the I guess he when he gets into a subject, he really spends like a lot of time learning into it, mastering it, and with the influence of a minimalistic fashion, like the music and all that taken into account. So it's so I guess it's if you look at our NFTs, you will see. So he designed all of them. So took him quite a while to do it, but everything was designed by Julian, just because the branding is so important, and what he also really wanted to reflect the brand, because we are such at a young stage, I guess, in the brand. So so yeah, I think the influence is him making sure that he can do everything himself. Before we outsource anything, we want to be able to do it ourselves, and taking into account all. So he's very inspired by like luxury fashion brands. So the likes of I guess brands like Balenciaga, Off-White, and all those ones that impact culture are the ones that we we love to get inspired by and see what they come up with.
That's amazing. I had no idea that he did also all the NFTs. So
Yeah, I
kudos
don't
to
think
him.
we I don't think we say it enough. People are often very surprised when we say that he did all the NFTs, and that actually was a crazy time for him because of a lot of pressure to get that done perfectly before the reveal.
Yeah, so he's obviously like the designer for Black Paris, and so he's also doing the NFT stuff side of things as well. So he's very hands-on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the brand is very much a designer brand, so we don't like outsourcing that kind of that part of the brand. So it's a lot of pressure for him and a lot of work to get everything. Also,
Absolutely.
the stores are all designed by him. So every time you open a store, you will see that he will be the one designing the full experience of the store. So it's very much everything that comes from his head, his imagination, and that's kind of how the brand has progressed so far.
It's
Wow.
really high quality modeling as well. I'm checking out the models now. No,
Yeah,
the
he
3D
he
modeling.
used Unreal Engine 5, I think.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
Next
No,
time
I
you
did.
see him,
Mm.
sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say, I've like done a little bit of modeling when I was in games art school. I majored in illustration, but um, like from what I've experienced with modeling, it's really difficult to be that good at it, and especially teaching yourself there's a lot of determination in that.
Yeah, when
Very
I
good.
tell you he spends days, at first
Days
we
and
thought it was
nights.
crazy because he really wanted to learn it 2 years ago, and
Absolutely.
we didn't understand the persistence, but now like we're blown away by what he's done.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, not he sets aside that time. He puts himself away and tells himself, "I'm going to learn this." And it's not about learning it in one day. Like, it's about teaching yourself. As he says, he watches all the tutorials first, and really make sure he understands what he's getting into. It's really, really like a good way of going about things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So when you said that, I kind of resonated with with a lot of what he does.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I recently did the same with music making because I never played an instrument in my life, but I always thought like whenever I was listening to music, I was always tapping my feet in certain ways into certain rhythms, and I always thought I'd love playing the drums or something like that. But then I discovered like digital composition, so like synthesizers, where you can synthesize your own sort of music and compositions essentially. And I just took aside the time, like I set aside a week and I was like, I want to learn this. So the first few days was just tutorials, just figuring out the basics and, not being afraid that I would come out of those 2 days with nothing to show. And then after you get started. So, yeah, no, I'm definitely interested to see what Black Paris is doing with those collections
That's
because I'm
very
looking
cool.
at the models now. But yeah,
Actually, like if you look at our first NFT drop on Makerspace, the Dark Mode series, a lot of the
yeah,
piano
yeah.
that is played with the animation that he did, it's him playing on the piano, recording
Oh,
himself,
that's
and then
brilliant.
adding it. So I think music. That's why I said like music plays such an important role in the creation of the art.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I'm like, what can he not do? He seems to do everything.
Exactly. He's an all-rounder. He's going to be an actor next.
I'm
He
not sure
probably
about
is.
that.
Brilliant.
That's amazing, though. Definitely. Like next time, if you see him, give him a big hug for me and be like, "You did so well on the collection." Honestly, I thought it was a 3D artist that you guys outsourced and did it. But yeah, I've also been learning 3D modeling as well, and it is not easy. Like definitely to make whatever
Yeah.
he has made for the NFT collection is just mind blowing how he did that in just like a few months, did you say, or a few weeks?
No, it was a few months, but he took so he started, so before we released the Mianoto collection, he wanted first to get the first character like set up. So, and during while we were announcing the collection, he was adding more traits, more like fashion outfits, and he really finished them. Like because he always, like, he's very perfectionist, so he always, like, we had actually 10 days of reveal, which is quite long for a collection, because he kept on adding more traits, changing the traits, and yeah, we were like, okay, now you need to be done. Now you need to release it.
Brilliant.
But that's good though for him to have that I guess that kind of perfectionism in there. I mean that he's always putting out like quality work.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
for
He's
sure.
not satisfied unless it's to his standard.
Mm-hmm. And I see that we're at 10 minutes to the hour, and so I think we are now, if you guys don't mind, we can open up the floor to whoever wishes to come and join us.
For
And
sure.
yeah, because I mean, I'm very bad with timekeeping, but I'm trying to be very as good as I can with
And I've listened to my own voice for like the past hour, so I want to hear some others.
And there's just one thing, we will need to go in 7 minutes because we have another space with the Asian TV Award in 7 minutes. So
Hey,
Yep.
awesome.
if I leave suddenly, it's just because I need to open a new space.
Yep, that is no problem. You can just drop off whenever you need to go. So we do have one person who is with the Black Purse, and that is Remy. So Remy has been requesting to speak. Sorry, Remy, for only bringing you in now. Would you like to ask a question to any of us or add anything to what we've been talking about? Hello, welcome, Remy.
Bonjour,
Howdy,
how you
Remy.
doing? J'espère que vous allez bien.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Hello, bro.
Hey Remy, I want to say it in Japanese, but I don't know the I don't
In
know the
Japanese,
word.
you say konnichiwa.
Yeah,
Konnichiwa.
Does Remy want to say anything in regards to the topic that we've been talking about today, or has a question to ask anyone?
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to everybody and bonjour. And I will say I will stay here and I can be just a listener, no worries. But I would like to say, yeah, how to find your art style is a good question. And Kumo, we need to talk about Japan, and all the people who know something about Japan, we need to talk. So send me a DM
absolutely.
because we need to talk. I will be Japanese very soon. So thank you so much.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. I mean, I've never been to Japan, and I'm not Japanese.
Yeah, but you know konnichiwa. So
Konnichiwa. That's me. Oh, konnichiwa.
Hey, so,
Watashi wa Nikki desu. That's about all my my Japanese.
okay, no worries, no worries. Where are you from?
I am from Ireland, but yeah, sorry, just before we continue on, we do have to apologize about the PO app because it seems
Yeah,
that
it doesn't
we
work.
are on.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, they they didn't activate the secret word because we are on cooldown for 24 hours for I don't know what reason. But we do have the mint links available. But we're going to try and get like posts after the cooldown. So if you still want the PO app, in 24 hours time, you will be able to mint your PO app. So that's if something that you're interested in.
Thank you
You
so much.
can do that in 24 hours. Thank you very much.
perfect.
And so I guess like we could probably start wrapping up the room now since I know Black Paris needs to bounce in exactly 4 minutes, probably 3 minutes now. But before they go, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today and thank you to our wonderful speakers, Steffi, Thomas, and Arlo, and obviously our wonderful co-host Z. And thank you, Remy, for coming up. Bonjour, arigato. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much for hosting
Sayonara.
us. It was really cool.
And
Merci.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. And if
thank you
anyone
all
wants
very much.
to join us on the next space, it's with the Asian TV Awards community, and they're opening up an NFT project, so feel free to join.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. The Asian TV Awards will be huge this year and next year, and it's super cool that Black Paris and Asian TV Awards collaborate on this. I'm so glad, and I love Raymond and the team. So, and I will be in Asia for the event, so I will meet Raymond very soon. So it's super cool.
Awesome.
Very
Okay,
awesome.
Thank you, everyone, and I wish you a wonderful day. And maybe we'll check you out in the next Twitter Spaces. So have a lovely day, and thank you
Have a really
again.
good day, guys.
Bye bye. Cheers.
Thank you.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye bye. Au
Au
revoir.
revoir.
Bye. Take care.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.